I never expected the silence to hurt more than the rejection. It crept in slowly, like a fog rolling over something warm and familiar until I couldn't see where love had once lived. The morning I sent out the reminder to our family group chat about the baby shower, I was practically glowing. I remember sitting on the couch, hands resting over the gentle swell of my belly, scrolling back to check the details one last time before hitting send. The invite was warm, hopeful, filled with pink and gold stars and little cartoon elephants holding balloons. The kind of thing you make when you're nesting, when you're dreaming. Just a reminder, baby shower this Sunday at 2 p.m. at Aunt Rachel's event space. Can't wait to see you all. Food, games, and plenty of baby bump photos included. I watched the message go out, that little green bar zipping to the right on my screen. Then I waited. At first, I told myself not to worry. People are busy. They probably just hadn't seen it yet. I checked again an hour later. One thumbs up from my cousin Beth. A heart emoji from my sister-in-law, but no words. Nothing from my mom. Nothing from my brother. Not even a question about what to bring or if they could help set up. I set the phone down, rubbing slow circles on my belly as I tried to stay calm. They're just distracted, I whispered to the baby, trying to keep my voice light. It'll be fine. The days leading up to the shower felt like walking through wet cement. Every step forward made me feel heavier. I tried following up with my mom, just a casual, "Hey, did you see the message?" Her reply was 3 words, "Yeah, I saw." I stared at those words for a long time, willing them to change. They didn't. Sunday came. The big day. I woke up early, running on little sleep, but a lot of hope. My best friend Mia had helped decorate the space the night before. We'd hung paper lanterns and filled vases with hydrangeas and baby's breath. The cake was a pale pink buttercream tower with gold lettering, "Welcome Baby Grace." I got there an hour early, dressed in a flowing white dress that made me feel a little like a goddess, even with my swollen feet. Mia met me in the parking lot, carrying a box of party favors. "Today's going to be beautiful," she said. And for a second, I believed her. Inside, the venue looked like a Pinterest board come to life. The soft clinking of cutlery being set up echoed through the space. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows, spilling warmth across the baby-themed centerpieces. But as 2 p.m. came and went, I started to feel it. The hollowness. The quiet. Mia tried to distract me with jokes, taking selfies with the balloon arch, even sneaking me a slice of cake before guests arrived. Except no one arrived. Not my mother. Not my brother. Not the cousin who'd always said she wanted to be the cool aunt. Not even my childhood best friend who still lived 3 blocks away. By 3:15, the silence was louder than the music playing from the Bluetooth speaker. I sat in one of the front chairs, trying to maintain the smile on my face as if I were the guest of honor at a party that had simply taken a detour. Mia hovered beside me, her face a mix of fury and heartbreak. "Emma," she finally whispered, "you don't have to stay here. Let's pack it up. We'll do something else, just us." I nodded, standing slowly. My back ached, but it wasn't the baby. It was something deeper, years of being dependable, the family caretaker, the one who always remembered birthdays, who covered utilities when someone came up short, who hosted every Thanksgiving so no one else had to. And yet, here I was, surrounded by empty chairs and a cake that no one would eat. I sat in the car for a while before driving home. My hands rested on the steering wheel, unmoving. I opened the family group chat, thumb trembling slightly, and typed. "Shower was today." I waited. No one came. The first response came from my brother 5 minutes later. "We didn't think it was that important." Then my mom chimed in. "You always make things bigger than they are." I felt it in my chest, something not quite breaking but releasing. A pressure valve finally clicking open. I didn't reply. I just stared at those messages until the letters blurred. I clicked the top of the chat, scrolled to the bottom, and tapped Leave Conversation. Then I opened my banking app. The monthly payment for my mom's internet canceled. The recurring Venmo autopay I'd set up for my brother's car insurance, gone. The shared Netflix account that only I paid for logged out and removed from my billing. Each tap felt like shedding an invisible weight I'd been dragging around since childhood. And then, right as I set my phone down, a new notification pinged, one from an app one didn't recognize. My heart skipped. It was a shared calendar alert Mia had made weeks ago, something about coordinating surprise gifts. But the message underneath it made my breath catch. Emma, do not panic. The shower is next Sunday. We messed up the date on the invites. We're so sorry. It's all been planned, just hang tight. I blinked. My mouth opened, then closed. Mia, standing behind me, let out a gasp as her phone buzzed too. Oh my God, she said, looking at me, her eyes wide. It's my fault. I sent you the wrong file when we were finalizing the invites. The real one had the 14th. I sat back in the car seat, stunned. All that pain. All that silence. A twist of miscommunication, and maybe a family that wasn't completely indifferent after all. The first message came in at 6:17 a.m. while I was still curled in bed, the morning light just beginning to push through the curtains. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, not with the usual cheerful notification from one of my pregnancy apps, but with something far less endearing, my brother's name flashing across the screen, followed by a string of panicked texts. Emma, my insurance app won't open. It says payment failed. What's going on? Before I could even blink the sleep from my eyes, 2 more messages came through in rapid succession. The car payment bounced. I just got a notice from the lender. Emma, did you change something? I didn't respond. Not out of pettiness, though God knows they had earned a healthy serving of that, but because in that quiet morning stillness, I finally understood the weight of my own silence. The power of not rushing in to smooth things over. I turned my phone face down and let it rest against the nightstand while I sank deeper into the pillows, my hands resting on the soft curve of my belly. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a lifeline they could yank at will. By 8 a.m., the group chat I had exited just 24 hours before had been replaced by a barrage of individual messages, each one more frantic than the last. My mother's texts arrived like a tidal wave, 15 in total by mid-morning, each one more frantic and dramatic than the one before. Emma, I think there's been a mistake. My phone isn't working. The internet went out. Are you okay? Did something happen? A minute later. Honey, please respond. I tried calling the electric company, but they said the autopay was deactivated. I'm worried. Then the kicker, if this is about the baby shower, we didn't mean to hurt you. It was a misunderstanding. Please just talk to me. There was something profoundly revealing in that message, that moment where apology and accusation mixed like oil and water. She couldn't bring herself to say sorry without also suggesting that I was overreacting. That if only I would explain myself, everything could go back to the old pattern where Emma absorbs the damage, patches the leak, and keeps the ship sailing. But I wasn't going to do that anymore. The silence from me was louder than any speech I could have made, and I intended to let it echo. By noon, my phone was practically glowing with notifications. My cousin Beth left a voicemail apologizing for not double-checking the date of the shower. She sounded sheepish, her voice cracking with the weight of embarrassment. Emma, I am so sorry. I don't even have words. Please let me make it up to you, anything you need. I appreciated Beth's message in a distant, grateful sort of way, but it didn't change what I had already known deep in my bones. The people who show up late in emergencies might be kind, but they're not the ones you lean on when you're standing at the edge. By mid-afternoon, my brother's calls turned from panic to irritated. I don't know what's going on with you, but this is seriously messing up my life, he snapped in one voicemail, the irritation barely veiled in his tone. I'm trying to be understanding, but I've got real responsibilities, Emma. You can't just ghost us like this. The irony nearly made me laugh. Real responsibilities. Like the Spotify premium plan that had my name on it. Or the car insurance I'd been covering since he missed 2 payments in a row last fall. Or the emergency dentist bill I'd paid out of pocket because he'd cracked a molar and didn't want to wait for the insurance to kick in. Their version of support had always been an illusion, a one-way street where I played the quiet, accommodating sister who could always be counted on. The one who didn't complain. The one who always had a little extra to spare. The one who sacrificed without being asked and got forgotten in return. At around 4 p.m., I received a message that gave me pause. This one was from my sister-in-law, Tara, and it was surprisingly measured. Emma, I just found out about the shower mix-up. I am so sorry. It was never supposed to happen this way. We were actually trying to surprise you. I think Beth already told you. I let the message sit unread for a few minutes before opening it. I didn't want to be cruel, especially if she truly meant well. But good intentions don't repair the cracks when they arrive after the collapse. That night, I lit a candle in the living room, let the soft scent of lavender and vanilla wrap around me, and sat with a notebook open in my lap. I didn't write anything yet. I just sat there, breathing in the quiet. My phone buzzed again, this time with a call from my mother. I watched the screen light up and waited for it to go dark again. I couldn't pretend anymore that this pain was temporary or that it would resolve itself with one sincere conversation and a few reassurances. This was years of being taken for granted. This was being the default safety net for people who only looked up when they were falling. And now, for once, I was letting them fall. I don't know how long I'll stay quiet. Maybe a few more days. Maybe longer. But I know this. For the first time in a long while, they're feeling the consequences of forgetting me. Not in anger. Not in revenge. Just in clarity. The same clarity I felt when I walked into that empty baby shower and realized I was alone, not by accident, but by design. I was halfway through folding a basket of impossibly tiny onesies when I heard the knock at the door. It was soft at first, almost uncertain, like whoever stood on the other side wasn't entirely sure they were welcome. I didn't move immediately. I just sat there with a pale yellow onesie still draped over my swollen belly, the sound of the knock echoing in my chest like a memory I didn't want to revisit. When it came again, this time a little louder, a little more desperate, I finally stood, moving slowly across the living room floor. I wasn't expecting who I saw when I opened the door. It was my younger sister, Lauren. Her mascara was streaked down both cheeks in uneven lines, and her chest rose and fell like she'd just run a mile in shoes not made for running. Her eyes, wide and swollen, searched mine for something, understanding, maybe, or forgiveness she hadn't yet asked for. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice catching on the edge of some emotion I couldn't quite name. It wasn't anger. It wasn't defiance. It was something soft and trembling and raw. I didn't answer right away. I just stepped back and let her in. She moved past me, curling herself into the corner of the couch like she used to do when we were kids and she'd gotten in trouble for something she'd blamed on me. Back then, she had always known the right pout, the perfect apology. But this wasn't that. This time she looked scared, like something in her had unraveled. "I need to explain," she said, and already the tears were falling. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed over my chest, not because I was angry anymore, not exactly, but because I needed a second to protect myself from the wave of emotion that was starting to rise in the room. "There was never a surprise party," I said quietly, not asking, just stating. Lauren's head shot up, eyes wide. "Wait, no. I mean, yes, there was. Or, there was going to be. It was supposed to be a surprise, Emma, I swear." I tilted my head slightly, watching her. When exactly was that plan made? Before or after the shower I showed up to alone? Her face crumpled. "I didn't know it was that Sunday. No one told me. I thought it was next week. I thought Mom had already talked to you." I moved closer, settling slowly into the armchair across from her. I felt every word she spoke, not in my head, but in my body, in the dull ache behind my ribs and the heavy pull in my shoulders. "Lauren," I said slowly, "do you want to know why I didn't believe it was ever a surprise at all?" She nodded, wiping her nose on her sleeve like she used to do when we were teenagers crying over boys who didn't deserve us. I picked up my phone from the table beside me, opened the Photos app, and handed it to her. "Because I found these screenshots. Taken by mistake, probably. Someone must have hit the wrong button and saved them to the cloud. She looked at the screen, her eyes scanning the images. Group chat messages from earlier that week. My name mentioned once. Then brushed aside. A few casual remarks. One from my mother. I don't think we really need to go all out. Emma gets emotional, but it's just a baby shower. My brother chiming in, laughing. She'll get over it. She always does. Another message followed. Short, cruel, and final. Let's just say it was supposed to be a surprise if she asks. Lauren stared at the screen in stunned silence. Her mouth opened once, then closed again. She looked like she might vomit. I didn't know, she whispered. Emma, I swear I didn't know they said that. I thought this was just a scheduling screw-up. Not, she paused, blinking hard. Not this. I didn't say anything for a moment. I just looked at her, my little sister, who used to braid my hair before school and sneak into my bed when she was scared of thunderstorms. She didn't look so little now. She looked broken in a different way. Not by guilt, but by recognition. Do you see it now? I asked her, my voice quieter than before. It wasn't just about missing the party. It's about the way they've treated me for years. The way I've been the family safety net while they treated me like the family ghost. She nodded slowly, shame dripping from every motion. I see it now. And I hate that I didn't see it sooner. Outside, the sky was turning a dusky gray, the first hints of evening creeping across the windows. Lauren shifted, hugging her knees to her chest. I think we've all gotten used to you being the one who never complains, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. And we took advantage of that. We leaned on you because we knew you wouldn't push back. And that's not love, Emma. That's just selfishness. Her words hit something inside me I hadn't been ready to face. I had spent so many years trying to earn their affection through helpfulness, through sacrifice, through silence. And when the love didn't come freely, I gave more, hoping eventually I would matter enough to be remembered. I wanted to believe the surprise party was real, I admitted quietly. I really did, because that would have meant that someone was thinking about me for once. Planning for me. Wanting me to feel special. Lauren crossed the room then, wrapping her arms around me without asking, the way she used to when we were just sisters, before the expectations and resentment and years of imbalance twisted us into people we'd barely recognized. I can't speak for everyone else, she said into my shoulder, but I'm sorry. Not just for this. For all of it. I let her hold me for a moment longer than I expected. And then, when she finally pulled away, I saw something in her eyes that made me believe her. It took me 3 full days after Lauren's tearful visit to find the right words. Not the polite kind you offer in casual conversation, and not the boiling over kind that usually come when pain turns to rage. These words had to be the kind that rewrote the script of my entire relationship with my family, the ones that didn't tremble or beg or hope for understanding. I was done hoping. This time, I would simply tell the truth and let it stand on its own. I chose a quiet Tuesday evening, when the house was still and the only sound was the hum of the dishwasher and the soft thump of baby Grace's kicks echoing from within. I placed my phone on the dining table, opened the group messaging app. Yes, I had rejoined temporarily, and began typing with slow, deliberate care. This isn't about the shower anymore. That was just the moment everything finally cracked open. This is about how I've been treated for years. About how giving became expected. About how my silence was mistaken for consent. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done pretending everything is okay. I paused, rereading those first few lines, letting their weight settle in the room around me. My fingers moved again, steady and sure. From this point forward, I will not be financially supporting any of you. That includes phone bills, car insurance, utility autopays, subscription services, rent shortfalls, and any of the countless little expenses I've quietly covered. If you're struggling, I hope you reach out to each other the way you've always reached out to me. I will not be your safety net anymore. I didn't add a smiley face or soften the edges with a thanks for understanding. This wasn't a favor. This was a boundary drawn in thick, unshakable ink. Almost immediately, the typing bubbles appeared. My mother responded first, and surprisingly, her words weren't the sharp guilt-laden ones I had expected. "I had no idea how much you were carrying," she wrote. "I know I didn't say thank you nearly enough. I'm sorry. Truly." Then my brother, whose earlier messages had been riddled with passive-aggressive panic, followed with something that almost sounded like growth. "You're right. I've depended on you for way too long. I guess I never realized how easy it was to just keep asking. I'll figure things out." And finally, Lauren, who had already begun to prove her sincerity in person, added a softer note. "I'm proud of you, Em. I really am. I hope we can build something better, even if it takes time." I didn't cry when I read their replies, not because they weren't meaningful, but because I had finally stopped needing them to validate what I already knew, that boundaries aren't betrayals, and self-respect isn't selfishness. In the weeks that followed, something unexpected happened. The chaos I had braced myself for never fully arrived. My brother found a part-time job at a local mechanics shop. He even sent me a photo of his first paycheck, framed by a sticky note that read, "Not much, but it's mine." It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was honest. And for the first time in years, I believed he actually wanted to stand on his own 2 feet. My mother, who had once insisted she didn't understand how to handle the utility accounts, called me one morning to say she had figured it all out herself. "The lady on the phone walked me through setting up the autopay," she said, her voice tinged with cautious pride. "I didn't even need your help." And Lauren, well, she started showing up in a different way entirely. Not just physically, though she did come by often to check on the nursery progress and bring me herbal tea blends she claimed were pregnancy safe. She started showing up emotionally too, asking how I was really doing, listening without trying to fix or explain things away. It felt like the beginnings of a real sisterhood, built not on shared trauma or whispered family secrets, but on the willingness to grow together. Even my father, usually the quiet one in the background of every family conflict, reached out with a message that nearly made me drop my phone. It simply said, "I'm sorry I let this go on for so long. You deserved better from me. I'll do better moving forward." I believed him, not because he'd suddenly become a different man, but because for once, he hadn't disappeared behind silence or a dismissive shrug. That alone was progress. As for me, I began to reclaim space in my own life that I hadn't even realized I'd lost. I stopped checking my bank account in fear of someone draining it with last-minute needs. I took long walks in the evenings, cradling my belly as I imagined the kind of mother I wanted to be: present, strong, nurturing, but never self-erasing. I started going to prenatal yoga classes without guilt, investing in small joys that were just for me. I scheduled therapy appointments and had long, vulnerable conversations about worth and exhaustion and the difference between love and obligation. Each session left me lighter. And slowly, I found myself smiling without having to force it. The baby shower, the real one, did eventually happen. Mia helped replan it, keeping it intentionally small and intimate. A few close friends, some distant cousins who had always treated me with kindness, and yes, even Lauren, who brought a homemade diaper cake that was lopsided and adorable. There were no grand declarations of redemption from the rest of the family, and honestly, I didn't need any. What I needed was already happening in quieter ways, in the way my mother packed her own groceries without asking for help, in the way my brother mentioned therapy in a casual conversation, in the way no one asked me for anything that day except whether I needed a chair or more lemonade. I sat under soft lights strung across the backyard, surrounded by gentle laughter and the clink of mocktail glasses, and felt something I hadn't in years. The afternoon sun filtered through the gauzy white curtains, casting soft, golden stripes across the hardwood floor of the living room. I stood barefoot on the braided rug, gently rocking Grace in my arms, her tiny head nestled into the crook of my neck like she had always belonged there. The house smelled faintly of lavender and warm bread, a combination of the diffuser running in the corner and the banana muffins Lauren had brought over earlier that morning. I could hear the soft hum of conversation coming from the kitchen, punctuated by occasional bursts of laughter that made my heart swell in a way I hadn't felt in years. This was the first gathering I had hosted since the baby was born, and it looked nothing like the family events I used to orchestrate with desperate precision, trying to ensure everyone felt welcome even when I didn't feel wanted myself. This time, I had invited only the few who had shown up with open hearts and honest effort, people who didn't just claim to love me, but proved it when it mattered most. Lauren was helping Mia with snacks, arranging fresh fruit on a platter shaped like a crescent moon. My cousin Beth was sitting cross-legged on the rug, making ridiculous faces at Grace, who had just begun to coo in response to gentle sounds. And my mother, in a moment I still hadn't fully processed, had quietly washed a sink full of bottles without being asked, humming to herself like she was trying to learn a new way to exist in my space, respectfully, gently, without expectation. It had been 4 months since the shower that never was and the series of conversations that followed, some strained, some heartfelt, all necessary. In that time, things hadn't become perfect, but they had become real. And in this new version of our family, real was more valuable than perfect could ever be. I looked around the room, noticing the quiet joy that seemed to linger in the air like music just below the surface. There was no drama here, no hidden agendas or passive-aggressive remarks cloaked in politeness. Just people who had chosen to show up fully, not out of guilt or obligation, but because they finally understood that love without accountability is just convenience in disguise. As I sat down carefully on the couch, easing into the cushions with Grace still snug against me, I let myself fully feel what I had built. Not just the nursery upstairs or the frozen meals packed neatly in the fridge, but the emotional architecture of this new chapter in my life. I had walls now, not the kind that kept people out, but the kind that held me up. I had boundaries, yes, but I also had bridges, slowly rebuilt ones, steady and strong, made from honesty and earned trust. Grace stirred slightly, making a tiny sound that was somewhere between a sigh and a yawn, and I kissed the top of her fuzzy head. My eyes drifted to the window, where the sunlight danced across the leaves outside, and for a moment, I felt a kind of peace that I wasn't sure I believed in anymore. Not until now. That's when my phone buzzed. It was subtle at first, just a gentle vibration against the armrest, but in that quiet room, it might as well have been thunder. I glanced down, expecting a sweet message from Mia or a reminder from the grocery delivery app, but instead I froze. There it was, a name I hadn't seen in months. My brother. The message preview was short, stark, and heavy with implication. We need to talk, immediately. For a few seconds, I didn't move. I just stared at the screen, the words pulsing with unspoken urgency. My heart didn't race, but it did tighten slightly, the way it always used to when his name appeared attached to a favor, a plea, or an apology laced with excuses. I inhaled slowly, letting the breath fill every part of my lungs before releasing it with intention. Grace shifted again in my arms, and I looked down at her, reminded of how far I had come, how much I had changed. I wasn't the Emma who would drop everything to chase after someone else's mess. I wasn't the Emma who mistook being needed for being loved. But I was also no longer the Emma who had to shut every door just to feel safe. I gently laid Grace in her bassinet beside the couch, covering her with the soft knit blanket my mom had recently crocheted, a simple, clumsy thing with uneven stitches that meant more to me than any grand gesture ever could. I picked up the phone, walked to the back porch, and stepped into the warm April air. The screen door creaked slightly as it shut behind me, and I stood barefoot on the wooden boards, staring at the message again. I opened it. Hey, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. But I messed up. And not just with the shower. With all of it. I've been going to therapy. I'm trying to sort my life out. And I know I don't deserve your time. But I'm hoping you might give me a chance to apologize properly. Please. The wind rustled through the trees, brushing against my skin like a whisper of something new. I didn't respond right away. I didn't feel the pressure to. This wasn't a test I had to pass or a demand I needed to meet. This was an invitation. And like all invitations now, I got to decide whether to accept it. Back inside, laughter rose from the kitchen again, and I could hear Lauren saying something about Grace's impossibly tiny socks. The baby stirred again, making her presence known with a soft whimper, and I knew it was time to return to the warmth of that room, to the life I had chosen and built with intention. But before I went back in, I typed a single reply. I'm open to talking, but on my terms, not yours. Let's start there. I hit send, turned off the screen, and walked back inside, where love lived not in promises, but in presence. Where I no longer begged to be seen. Where I was, at long last, home.